I mean, that is insane. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I've never done anything like that, so I can't even comment on it as an experience. But I do know, here's a little thing about Simon Miller. Simon Miller, the bald a-hole here, along with Joe the fitness mascot and Stanley the Gaines giraffe. Don't worry about it. If you want to know, you can watch old videos. And it is the return of the Should You Listen to Them series by popular demand. When I say popular demand, like 3 people got in touch and said, Simon, you should do this. And that was enough for me. But it kind of worked out too, because it does tie into more plates, more dates. So I always get the name wrong. Sometimes I say more dates, more plates, which doesn't make any kind of a sense. I mean, that would mean that if you're going to go and get more dates, you're going to lift more in the gym, which of course is not what it's getting at all. But this, like I say, this was kind of a topical one for me because I've been watching a lot of his stuff recently because his channel is absolutely blowing up. Something I wanted to get to for a long time anyway. And when we did that video called Top 10 YouTubers I Watch, or whatever the hell it was, he was in there because Derick is one of these guys that can talk about things that I have no interest in really, but he has such a scientific brain and he has so much education and so much information. I always walk away feeling like I've learned something. That's nice. And it's empowering. So, of course, we do bring a video into the equation, which this time is the worst dirty bulk of all time. Was it worth it? But like I say, he's got hundreds of videos on his channel. So if you do enjoy anything he says here, you should absolutely go and check it out.
What's up, guys? Derick, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about my worst dirty bulk of all time and was it worth it? Obviously, there's like different camps. There's people who think that, you know, the dirty bulk is just aggressively gaining as much as you can. While it may not be the healthiest route, it's believed to yield more contractile tissue at the end of the day after you peel the fat off. And then there's the other camp of individuals who think that lean bulking up, slow and steady is the way to go. And because once you have to peel off the fat, then it's less of a, you know, you won't have to drive down your calories and you're, you know, rev the cardio up so much and, you know, really kill yourself to get that fat off and potentially make yourself catabolic and lose that muscle to begin with.
This is why I like his stuff straight away. He's giving you both sides of the argument, right? He's giving you both sides of the story. I'm sure we've all been tempted to dirty bulk at some point. How the hell could we not? Because you hear this thing, well, I can just eat whatever the hell I want. I'm going to get really big and muscly, which is not how it works. But that's kind of how you manipulate it in your head. And then you have the other side, which is basically being consistent and find a lifestyle that works for you so that you don't just balloon up and then just try and cut down by only losing the fat and keep your lean muscle tissue, which is a really hard thing to do because of course it is. It's hard enough trying to put on muscle to begin with, but getting to a point where you're looking in the mirror and going, okay, well, I've increased my, my fat levels way too much now. Now I need to get back down to a point where I don't lose any of this muscle that I may or may not have put on because you don't know because so much fat covering it. It's so difficult. It's so hard. Unless you're going to use some kind of PED or something like that, it makes it even harder still. And this is the cool thing about Derick is that only will he always present both sides of the argument, but we already know what he's going to do next. He's going to give us his experiences, and then you can just kind of throw it all into a pot and see what works for you.
Where I stand, you know, I've done the dirty bulks. I've done the lean bulks. I've done the everything in between. And honestly, I think the ideal place, it depends on you and your own, you know, glucose tolerance and insulin resistance levels. And because some people just can't tolerate like huge amounts of food at high levels of body fat. They just get to a point where their insulin sensitivity is so shit that they would be better off going the lean bulk approach.
Boom. What did I tell you earlier? What did I say? He doesn't just sort of talk in, I can't even think of the right word, generalities, right? He comes straight away with the specifics. And he talks about glucose and insulin and all the things you're going to need if you're seriously going to get into lifting weights. So if you're just doing it casually, you don't need to know about that. You can just keep it as basic as, well, is this working for me? Yes, because I feel good. Or is it working for me? No, because I feel like crap. But if you do want that little bit of extra, Derick is the man that will give it to you. Like, it is so cool. And also, even if you know all of that stuff, he will reinforce that you're heading down the right direction. You do know what you're talking about, and that gives you more confidence, and then you're going to have better gym sessions.
At the end of the day, it's a bit individual dependent, and I think the answer sort of lies somewhere in the middle. But with that being said, I've done the dirtiest of dirty bulks, like eating everything in sight, and honestly, like looking back on it, my blood pressure was high. I would be in the middle of class at university and just like get a nosebleed and have to go to the washroom because the fucking D-ball deca was spiking my blood pressure so much.
I mean, that is insane. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I've never done anything like that, so I can't even comment on it as an experience. But I do know, here's a little thing about Simon Miller. Not good with stuff like that. Absolute wuss, absolute baby. I would freak out. I'd be like, great, I'm dying. I'm dead. There's nothing that I can do. But I do appreciate his honesty. And I think one of the interesting or important things he said there was about blood pressure, right? And I know I go on about it all the time, but health and fitness, the key word is health. If you are going to be eating a lot of sort of crappy food and you're going to be eating it in huge quantities, you are going to have, your blood pressure and who knows what else be off the charts. Because, you see that every single day when people are talking about don't eat this because it's going to be bad for your heart or it's going to be bad for your cholesterol, X, Y, and Z. And you can always try and fix that stuff by then reverting to a healthy diet. But then you yo-yoing and that opens a door to something else that potentially may not work for you. It may put you on a wrong path. In case you're interested in my own personal thing, I think you should probably try Dirty Bulk once, maybe twice to see if it is your thing. But ultimately, I just kind of feel like you feel crap and then sort of towards the end you look crap as well. Unless you're sort of, competing for a very specific thing or you're lucky to be doing it professionally and therefore you have a team around you and you're being, well funded to get involved. I just kind of think it has a detrimental effect on other areas of your life. And that's not what you want to go to the gym for. You go to the gym to feel good.
Amazing photo of my face at completely blown up. And believe it or not, this weight was only like 20 pounds more than what I weigh right now, but it was like so much fat and water that it just looked absolutely disgusting. It was like my face was eating my own face. Like that's how rough it was.
That is incredible, right? That I've never seen that picture before. I think he'd done a transformation video, so it's done the rounds, but I never looked at it in that much detail. You could tell me that was a different person and I would believe you. And like I say, he's 20 pounds more than he is there. So 20 pounds is like just over a stone, quite a lot more than a stone. But you wouldn't think there would be such a huge transformation given how he looks now. He looks pretty damn ridiculous to compare to where he looks there. And it goes to show, what are you doing it for? I think that's the question you've got to ask yourself. What are you doing it for? And if you're doing it to look as good as you possibly can and you're willing to sort of make some sacrifices, then maybe you do want to do that. But if you just want to feel good 365 days a year, I don't necessarily think it's the way to go.
Pounding the Snickers bar, slamming Mutant Mass shakes with milk. I'd like literally throw up and then go slam a Mutant Mass shake because I just threw up and lost my calories. I remember walking out of a restaurant called Red Robin with my friends, and I just had like bottomless fries, like they have a bunch of bottomless stuff there. I just had the most massive meal, and then I pull out a fucking 1,300 calorie Mutant Mass shake with milk in the parking lot, and I slam it.
Look, I have dirty bulk before, but never to those levels. And don't get the two sort of confused either. When you do first try to put on size and you understand that you have to increase your calories, there may be some occasions where you do have to force feed yourself a little bit. Like I remember when I first started doing it in sort of my mid to late teens, I remember pushing rice into my mouth and it just kept falling out because my stomach just didn't want it. And maybe that was kind of, pushing it a little too far. But throwing up and then refeeding yourself, because of course if you eat something and throw it up, you're not going to get any benefit from those calories. And look, this guy knows what he's doing. There's no two ways about it. Derick is a really, really smart guy. I'm just talking about it from my own personal, just wants and not wants from life. I never want to throw up ever. Like I'm just coming off a stomach virus as I make this video now. You don't need to know this about my life, but it was the downstairs version as opposed to the upstairs version. But that is so much better to me. To me, throwing up is one of the worst things that can happen because it's basically your body rebelling against you. And that horrible feeling of just like ejecting vomit from your throat, I think is absolutely terrible. You got to find your own way. You got to find your own direction, but it scares the absolute shit out of me.
Honestly, I think it was pretty common back then. No one really talked about how to do things. But when you're when you're young too and you don't even... It's not like there was that many good sources of information. And on top of that, you just don't really have I don't know. It was just like a different time. There wasn't people on YouTube talking about like stupid shit that you should avoid. So,
and that is a massively good point because I remember that as well. The amount of mistakes I made. Because there was like one website. Because, the internet was like this, brand new thing. But it was one website when I started lifting weights. So you were getting 100 people's opinions, and that was it. And of course, I could have learned more. I could have gone and got nutrition books and things like that. But the cool thing about 2021 is that you do just have this wealth of information, and you can type in right now to Google, to YouTube, whatever, should I dirty bulk? And you'll get videos like this, and you'll get videos all over the place that will give you the pros, the cons, and the experiences. And I can only imagine that most people would hear that story and go, well, I don't want to be walking around throwing up. That sounds absolutely terrible. And then you can can make your own mind up. But back in the day, honestly, I remember somebody telling me, again, when I was sort of 16, 17, that dirty bulking is what we did. And it was all based on that Lee Priest photo, which hopefully I'll be able to find, when he sat at a table eating KFC, looking anything but like a pro bodybuilder. But that's because Lee Priest has crazy genetics, and Lee Priest was able to do that. And if I have the confidence, I would put my balloon picture up on the screen, but I always worry about it a little bit. I didn't look good, and I was just plowing myself with food. And, was I really strong? Yes, so there were certain benefits to it, but I certainly wasn't happy. And I think that always has to be your foundation, because if you're not happy, what are you doing it for anyway?
Eat as much food as possible, because the scale going up equals good. And just trying to gain as much weight as I possibly can. I think I gained like literally 70 pounds or something during that bulk. And it was just 80% of it was shit weight, at least, if not more. And, it was a terrible idea.
That is such an important note too. The human race basically broke it down into, if your weight on the scales is going down, you are losing fat. And if your weight on the scales and you're a man is going up, you're putting on muscle. Because I remember I used to be obsessed with that number on the scale. Obsessed with it, but it doesn't matter. It means absolutely nothing, right? It's a good barometer to keep an eye on to make sure that you are heading in the right direction, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, you could get to 17.5 stone. If you look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, I think I look like crap. What's the point? But then you could get down to, 15.5, 15, whatever, and look at yourself and go, oh man, I really like the way I look. Then that's what it's all about. It's not like this is a brand new thing either. When I was doing my bodybuilding competition a few years ago, I got terrified when I dropped beneath a certain weight. It's like, what is it? Who cares? No one's judging you based on weight. But there is this mentality, there is this idea, as Derick had just said there, that again, numbers going up, everything is good. But he said 80% of what he put on was fat. That's not what anybody wants, unless you're trying to get fat. And if it is, well done.
I don't think the dirty bulk really has a place nowadays. I think there are smarter ways to go about it. And even if you don't go the, like slow and steady bulk route, which I don't think is necessarily something you can do as an enhanced athlete, no pun intended. But if you're enhanced, I don't think, trying to spread out and go as lean as possible long term is not really the best approach either. People don't talk about when they talk about lean bulk versus dirty bulk is they don't comment on the fact that if you're natural, perhaps lean bulking versus dirty bulking, there's more of an argument. But if you're on gear and you're blasting a super physiological dosage, you're exposing your body to that amount of drug for a longer period of time if you're going the super conservative lean bulk route.
And that's the other reason I really appreciate Derick. Like, there's going to be a bunch of people out there who do want to go on PEDs. In fact, more people than you probably realize are on PEDs right now. Some people will tell you about it, some people won't tell you about it, whatever. It's a personal choice. I don't think you should be judged for that. I think you should get the information, then decide what you want to do. But that's what he always does. He just tells you it, completely factual, and again, he backs it up with science. So you can listen to it, because I think one of the problems people have when they do start taking stuff is you don't want to come off it because it's going to make you feel amazing. I've had loads of friends like that who have kind of run themselves into the ground because they hate the mental drop that happens when you come off being enhanced, right? That's why it's called enhanced. You're going to feel like Superman. Just go and type in anything. Oh, I felt like Superman. I felt like Superman. If you do it too much, you're then going to start sacrificing other things. And at no point have I ever watched a video from More Plates, More Dates where he doesn't make that abundantly clear. And again, back it up with evidence and science and information and details where it'd be hard to criticize him. You could have a different opinion, but you can't say that where he's coming from isn't based in some kind of knowledge, because I would call him a fountain of knowledge.
The dirty bulk is not the way to go. Have a decent surplus, hit your, macro allotments, get your micronutrients in, train hard, support your recovery with adequate amounts of food, but don't, drag it out so long that you're on gear for excessively long periods of time because you're trying to do it lean. That's my suggestion for a risk management context.
Boom. Summed up wonderfully. Great conclusion there. And that's why I like him. And again, he talks about a lot of stuff that I have no interest in. He really, really does. He talks about this dude doing this PED and this dude doing that PED. But I watch it. I watch it because I feel like I learned something. So absolutely, you knew before the start of the video. You should absolutely check out More Plates, More Dates, especially at the moment because he is smashing the game. He is getting bigger every single day. He's working his ass off. And if nothing else, that is worth a subscribe. But while you are here, if you can help my algorithm too, like the video, share the video, please hit the subscribe button, the magical number that makes everybody feel good. Click the bell as well, ding, ding. Then when other videos have gone live, there's another should you listen to them right there on the screen. Also, Twitter and Instagram at SimonMiller316, patreon.com/SimonMiller316 if you want to help support. SimonMiller.bigcartel.com for merchandise. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.